Hi guys, welcome back to GP Reactions. I hope you're well. I hope you're having a great day, and as always, thank you for subscribing. I really do appreciate everybody that's subscribed over the last couple of weeks, and my apologies actually for not returning to Yes sooner. I've had this track on about burner for about a month and a half, I think, and indeed this track is the fourth track taken from their first album, their first self-titled album from 1969, and it's called Harold Land. So I know very little about this track, and I've kind of like forgotten the other tracks that I've reacted to, but they've all been a little bit different from each other. So I have no idea what to expect from this track, and yep. So without further ado, I'm going to be listening to Harold Land by Yes.
Said goodbye to all that. He paid his bills and stopped the milk, then put on his hat. He tried to say his last farewells as quickly as he could, promising that he would return, but doubting that he would. Disappointing sights it seemed. Instead watching red ribbons from a badge, but he didn't look his age. Only 2 years had passed between his leaving home and back. He had lost his love and youth while leading the attack. Leading the attack. In conversation it could be said, well, after war your heart is dead. Well, it's not hard to understand. There is no heart in Harrow Land.
Well, that was terrific. That was yes, with Harold Land, and I mean, I meant to actually pause about halfway through, so I hope it doesn't get blocked. But I was kind of drawn in by the story. I was thought, well, this is nearly 6 minutes long, and at some point there'll probably be an instrumental break to be able to pause it, and that opportunity never really occurred. So, and I'm kind of glad because I once we'd gone through a couple of transitions, I was then sort of sucked into this idea of the story, and I feel that the story is about a man who is called up to war, and a lot of the music that I hear about war, it's always to do with the First World War. I think that the whole idea of calling people up was quite brutal, and you had very little time to, yeah, I guess, prepare. So you just had to, line up, and you'd be on a ship and you'd be off to Europe. So yeah, I think that's what this story is dealing with. So I'm gonna just jump into the lyrics and talk about the music in a little bit. Harold Land, with a wave of his hand, said goodbye to all that. He paid his bills and stopped for milk. That's a very English thing, stopping your milk deliveries. I didn't realise we had milk deliveries then, but I heard maybe somewhere way back that milk deliveries started before the 19th century, which just sounds really crazy. I guess it was like a cart horse or something. He paid his bill, stopped the milk, and put on his hat. He tried to say his last farewells as quickly as he could, promising he would return, but doubted that he would. Doubted. So word was obviously slowly getting back to England, I'm guessing, about your chances of returning alive, or indeed in one piece. Now he's marching soldiers in the rain, as on to war they rode, a long thin line of human mind, damnation as their load. In the mud, in coldless dark, he'd shiver out his fear. What disappointing sights he'd seen instead of one so dear. So I kind of get the feeling that maybe he's been to Europe before, and he's been there and he's marvelled at the sights he's seen on his travels. But in this case, it's he's quite disappointed as he's probably seeing mud, rain, battle sites, and yeah, it must be quite horrific to see something that you may have passed through in more peaceful times, in rack and ruin. Going home, he's going he's going home to the land he loves so well. And that's interesting. He's going home to the land he loved so well rather than a land he loves so well. So maybe there's like bitterness of what he's actually been sent to. Maybe people weren't being told exactly what was ahead of them when they joined up or conscripted. Going home, he fought for 2 years, never fell. Going home, he's going home, he's going home, he's going home. Harold Land, with a wave of his hand, stood sadly on the stage, clutching red ribbons from a badge, but he didn't look his age. Only 2 years had passed between his leaving home and back. He had lost his love and youth while leading the attack. In conversation, it could be said, well, after the war, your heart is dead. Well, it's not hard to understand, there is no heart in Harold Land. So by the sounds of it, he's got post-traumatic stress disorder, perhaps, and he's gone back. The girl who loved him, I'm assuming he was maybe a younger man. He's now gone home. He's a changed person. He's got the weight of his experiences on his shoulders, and that's going to affect those around him. They didn't really have a good idea of post-traumatic stress disorder, obviously, back then in the 1900s or 1920s, 1918 onwards. So it's going to come as a shock when they go back as heroes, but they're changed people, and yeah, and your home is not your home anymore, I guess. Really enjoyable record. I loved the fact that I could follow most of the lyrics John Anderson was singing. I enjoyed the organ. I was going to say at the very beginning, I was really getting worked up by how happy and jaunty the organ music was. It felt like I was on the end of a pier watching a show. And I'm guessing, in a way, whether it was intentional or not, that set the scene. That you could be enjoying yourself, you're having a laugh, and then all of a sudden you're dragged away into this other world of guns and bombs and mustard gas, and you've gone from that happy thing. But right at the end, the music returns. So perhaps even though the lyrics weren't altogether complimentary about war, weren't altogether gave us that feeling that it wasn't such a happy ending. But maybe the music gave us a hint that maybe with time he would get his old self back, and hopefully he might find the love of his life again and settle down. Yeah, I love this early Yes stuff because I feel that quite a lot of the music is stripped back and you can kind of really pick out different instruments and stuff. But definitely the organ on this one was the standout instrument for me, and yeah, I really enjoyed this track. It didn't feel like it was 5 minutes 46. It felt like more like it was a 2-minute track, and it's really there's not much else to say on this. Not being a musician, I can't really go into the technicalities of what I heard, and I think that interestingly in this track, it was the music carried for. Was there as a vehicle for the lyrics. Sometimes the lyrics are there as just a vehicle just to kind of help the music transition in various different parts. But yeah, definitely this was about the story, and what a great story it was, albeit one tinged with sadness, bitterness, and but with a little bit of hope at the end. As was the outro, a reprise of the beginning with the music. So guys, let me know what you think about this. Please join me in the comments below, and always look forward to your comments on these groups from the early 70s. I wasn't very akin to any of this music at all. My first meaningful listen of Yes was probably hearing wondrous stories. So I understood that they came from years back, going back. And then other than that, it was the likes of Owner of a Lonely Heart and that 9012 album stuff. So yeah, it's wonderful to go back and listen to the beginnings of these bands. So yeah, like I said, join me in the comments below. Let me know what you think. And until next time, take care of yourselves.